Viewer discretion advised. Documentary disclaimer and viewer advisory. This video presents a detailed investigation into a premeditated crime and the resulting wrongful conviction. All visual materials, including images, transcripts, and documents, are used strictly for educational and documentary purposes under the principles of fair use. No personal identifiers have been included. The content is derived from verified public records, procedural documentation, and official transcripts. A sensitive content advisory. This documentary addresses themes of systemic misconduct, legal irregularities, and institutional retaliation. Viewer discretion is strongly advised due to the disturbing nature of the material.
Earlier, 48 Hours correspondent Erin Moriarty talked with author John Grisham about the trials endured by America's all too many falsely accused, even after they are freed. She has more thoughts about that in our commentary.
You've watched scenes play out like this over and over again. A wrongfully convicted person tearfully embraced by family members, walking free after years behind bars. It's a heartwarming sight.
Ms. Watkins, this charge against you is dismissed.
Evidence that maybe justice denied is only justice delayed, and that the system does finally work.
This is a picture of me.
But what happens to those people after they go home? For more than 25 years, I've reported on wrongful convictions, and I have followed the efforts of those newly released to return to the lives they left behind. And it's a real struggle. In 2021, Kevin Strickland was exonerated and released after 43 years in Missouri prisons. When I asked him how he felt about getting his life back, Strickland, who was a teenager when arrested, said,
"I get my life back. I've never had one."
He was starting over in his 60s.
Wrong place, wrong time.
And that was all it took.
Earlier on this broadcast, you heard Kenny Gardner, Mark Jones, and Dominic Lucci describe lives drastically altered by 26 years in prison. They missed out on school, marriage, having children, and all the joys that come with family. They missed saying goodbye to parents who died and going to their funerals. And when they were released, they walked out with only the clothes on their backs and a few personal items. Here's the kicker. When people who committed crimes are paroled, they're given assistance to find housing and employment, counseling. What do the wrongfully convicted get? No services at all. 38 states, the District of Columbia, and the federal government do have programs that offer some compensation. But in most cases, those newly released only qualify if they are actually exonerated, given a pardon, or a finding of actual innocence. And even then, the process can take years. There is nothing to make these individuals whole again, but maybe restoring the Social Security benefits that they lost can give them some financial security as they age. And there is something else that should be guaranteed: a heartfelt apology.
Tonight, we're learning new details about this Midlothian family that used threats and abuse to force a woman to work for 12 years. A U.S. attorney is now calling this a modern-day equivalent of slavery. 8 News reporter Nicole Dantzler is live with reactions from people in that area. Nicole?
Autumn, I'm at London Park Drive where the family has lived for several years, and this is also where they kept the woman against her will and forced her to do work. Now tonight, neighbors who knew the family are calling this disturbing. 80-year-old Zahid Aziz and her two sons were convicted of conspiracy to commit forced labor. On each side of her are Mohammed Naman Chaudhry and Mohammed Rayhan Chaudhry. The victim is the wife of Aman's third son, who was not charged or identified. She married him through an arranged marriage back in 2002 and moved into their home along London Park Drive in Midlothian. The three of them were said to have forced the woman to do work for 12 years. They made her clean the house, paint the home, and mow the lawn, all while under physical, verbal, and psychological abuse. Aman, Rayhan, and Naman Chaudhry kept the victim locked out of the home for hours a day, and when she tried to run away, they forced her back inside. The victim had limited interactions with her children and other people. They also took away her immigration documents and threatened her with deportation. After hearing the news, the Jones family, who also lives on London Park Drive, called this incident disturbing. They say the family lived by a different culture, but they always seemed private, quiet, and respectful. Assistant Attorney General Kristen Clark saying, quote, "Human trafficking is a disgraceful and unacceptable crime." Naman Chaudhry faces up to 5 years in prison, while Aman and Rayhan Chaudhry faces up to 20 years. For now, live in Chesterfield County, Nicole Dantzler, 8 News.
My name is Zahid Aziz Khan. I am a car mechanic with a high school background. Early in life, I left Pakistan and worked as a car mechanic in Saudi Arabia. My uncle called and asked me if I was interested in getting married to his sister-in-law. After divorcing her 2 husbands, she was hunting for a third husband. She has 1 daughter from her first husband, with whom I have developed a close and daughter-father-loving relationship. She was in search of an educated husband for a secure future, despite being a schooled dropout like me. When she couldn't find her ideal educated husband, she was left with no other options. Initially, she was cautious and had reservations about me, an uneducated man 7 years her junior. During our early interactions, didn't reveal her past marriages. Our relationship was complex, as she never truly accepted me as her husband and even attempted to separate from me after the birth of our second child. She is a dominant woman who began to treat me as if I were her servant. She was embarrassed by me, and from the beginning, she wanted to get rid of me. I tried to make compromises because I didn't want to lose my 2 children. The threat of deportation was always looming. I was married on February 20, 1999, my son was born on July 4, 2000, and my daughter on July 6, 2001. I have been married for over 2 years and 4 months. I needed a permanent resident permit, but my wife was not interested. I received my first termination letter on May 9, 2002. As of today, I have been married for over 3 years and 2 months, and I am the father of 2 kind and loving children. Yet, despite this, I still do not hold a permanent resident permit. During this time, I lived under constant fear of deportation. I worked in conditions that felt exploitative, without protection, without status, and without dignity. My wife showed no interest in pursuing a resident permit herself, nor did she support my efforts to secure one. I appealed the termination, and immigration authorities scheduled a new court date for March 7, 2003, to review my application for permanent residency. However, my wife submitted a letter to immigration stating that we were no longer living together and that I was unavailable due to a temporary separation. This was untrue. Her actions undermined my case and prolonged my vulnerability. I believe she intended to keep me in a position of dependence and control, rather than support my right to live freely and securely. Her letter misrepresented our situation and contributed to the hardship I endured.
To whom it may concern. Zahid Khan has an appointment on March 28, 2003 at 2:30 p.m. We are unable to make this appointment. His wife is not sure at this time to file a petition for him. I'm going out of town for a couple of months due to temporary separation from my husband. Please grant us a new interview date for at least couple months apart, so relationship is clear between us.
I was unable to attend the scheduled court hearing on March 7, 2003, due to my wife's refusal to cooperate in the process of obtaining a permanent resident permit. Her lack of support left me in a highly vulnerable position, living in the United States without legal status and with no clear path forward. On December 30, 2004, immigration authorities issued another notice, instructing me to appear in court on January 19, 2005. By that time, I had been married for 5 years and 10 months, and we had 2 children together. Yet, despite the length of our marriage and the responsibilities we shared, I still did not have permanent residency. That court date held no significance for my wife, and without her cooperation, I was again unable to attend. As a result, immigration issued another termination letter on January 19, 2005. At that point, I had been married for nearly 5 years, still raising 2 children, and still without legal status. Throughout this period, we consistently filed our taxes jointly with the Internal Revenue Service. We never missed a deadline, demonstrating our commitment to fulfilling our civic responsibilities despite the instability of my immigration status.
U.S. Department of Homeland Security, 5000 Tequila International Boulevard, Seattle, Washington 98168. U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. Date January 19, 2005. Zahid Khan 811-126P1-A201. Bellevue, Washington 98005. RE, a number 47,263,659. On May 22, 2002, you filed a petition to remove the conditions on residence, Form I-751, under Section 216 of the Immigration and Nationality Act, as amended. You are seeking permanent residence based on a marriage to a U.S. citizen, and filing the petition together with your spouse. On January 7, 2003, you and your wife were scheduled for an interview to remove the conditions on your residence. Your spouse appeared for the interview without any type of identification. The officer conducting the interview then rescheduled you for another date, specifying that your spouse needed to bring picture identification to the next interview. In addition, you were issued an I-72, request for evidence, requesting you to provide documents showing cohabitation and commingling of finances. Our records at this time indicate that you have failed to comply with the above request for documents. You and your wife were requested to appear on March 7, 2003, and March 28, 2003, for an interview in connection with the petition. You and your spouse failed to appear to both rescheduled interviews. On March 28, 2003, the service received a letter from your wife stating that she was not able to attend the interview, and you and your spouse temporarily separated. On January 19, 2005, you and your wife were scheduled for another interview regarding your marital relationship. You and your wife failed to appear for the scheduled appointment. Again, the service received a statement from your spouse stating that your spouse are still separated. Section 216d(1) of the Immigration and Nationality Act, as amended, states in pertinent part: each petition shall contain the following facts and information: that the qualifying marriage 1. Was entered into in accordance with the laws of the place where the marriage took place. 2. Has not been judicially annulled or terminated, other than through the death of a spouse. 3. Was not entered into for the purpose of procuring an alien's admission as an immigrant. Marriages entered to circumvent immigration laws are not approvable. See matter of M8 INN December 217, which states in pertinent part, where no bona fide husband-wife relationship was intended, the marriage is deemed invalid for immigration purposes regardless of whether it would be considered valid under the domestic laws of the jurisdiction where it performed. You have failed to submit evidence establishing the validity of your marriage and failed to appear at 3 scheduled interviews, which were required to determine the merit of your marriage. Since you failed to appear for scheduled interviews, your petition to remove the conditions of residence is being adjudicated on its merits. Although you and married for 5 years, You have failed to convince the service that you shared a life together and entered into the marriage in good faith. For these reasons, the service has denied your petition to remove the conditions on residence, Form I-751, and your conditional permanent residence is terminated effective December 10, 2001. Sincerely, Robert J. Oken, District Director K. Citizenship and Immigration Services, Department of Homeland Security.
After 6 years of marriage and living in a state of constant fear, the necessity of legal status became increasingly urgent. The threat of deportation was always present, and it was crucial to find a solution. I was expecting some funds from the Internal Revenue Service and suggested Mirza get those funds from the IRS. I must have legal status. My wife Mirza's acceptance of my reasoning and her subsequent letter to immigration were pivotal in our quest for legal status, underscoring the crucial role of unity and support in such situations.
To Immigration Court. We received a notice of hearing in removal proceedings. We have few requests about the case. 1. I and Zahid Khan have been back together. We are not separate anymore. 2. We can come for the interview to save the court time. 3. We went to immigration office at Tequila Boulevard and attempted his fingerprints and told the officer about our case but were told that only court can decide out our case. 4. I have 2 kids with him and just bought the house. 5. This is my request for earlier hearing, if possible as soon because we want to go Pakistan to see his family for summer break. 6. We want to save the court time, so please tell us if we need an attorney or we can represent ourselves. 7. Thank you for your time. Please respond to us again. We will request an earlier hearing as soon as possible. Thank you.
Immigration received my wife's letter on May 25, 2005, but by then, the damage had already been done. Despite her effort to intervene, the outcome remained unchanged. On June 14, 2005, the immigration officer denied my application for permanent resident status. I was left with no option but to appeal. At that point, I had been married for 6 years and 3 months. Despite my undocumented status, my wife continued to live with me. But behind closed doors, I was not free. I was treated as an enslaved person, denied basic autonomy, forbidden from opening my own salary envelope, and unable to send financial support to my elderly parents overseas. My life was constrained not only by legal barriers but by the daily erosion of dignity and agency.
United States Department of Justice. Executive Office for Immigration Review. Immigration Court. Seattle, Washington. Khan, Zahid Aziz. 2333 194th Street Southeast. Bothell, Washington 98012. In the matter of Khan, Zahid Aziz. File of 47-263-659. Date, June 14, 2005. Unable to forward, no address provided. Attached is a copy of the decision of the immigration judge. This decision is final unless an appeal is filed with the Board of Immigration Appeals within 30 calendar days of the date of the mailing of this written decision. See the enclosed forms and instructions for properly preparing your appeal. Your notice of appeal, attached documents, and fee or P waiver request must be mailed to Board of Immigration Appeals. Office of the Clerk, P.O. Box 8530. Falls Church, Virginia 22041. Attached is a copy of the decision of the immigration judge as the result of your failure to appear at your scheduled deportation or removal hearing. This decision is final unless a motion to reopen is filed in accordance with Section 242 B.C. 3 of the Immigration and Nationality Act, 8 U.S.C. Section 1252 B.C. 3 and deportation proceedings or Section 240 C. 6, 8 U.S.C. Section 1229 A. C. 6, in removal proceedings. If you file a motion to reopen, your motion must be filed with this court. Immigration Court, 1002nd Avenue, Suite 2500. Immigration Court. C.C. Dorothy Stephan, District Counsel, INS. 1002nd Avenue, Suite 2900. Seattle, Washington, 98104. SM8. Jurisdiction to review the discretionary aspect of a decision to deny an application for adjustment of status. Respectfully submitted. Date, December 21, 2005. Gregory E. Failings, ICE Deputy Chief Counsel. 1002nd Avenue, Suite 2900. Seattle, Washington 98104. 206-553-2315.
I appealed the Immigration Court's decision, and as a result, received a letter from Immigration on September 13, 2005, instructing me to appear in court on February 13, 2006. Pre-hearings were scheduled for January 24, 2006. Later, on December 12, 2006, the court issued another notice requiring me to report on January 11, 2007. By that time, I had been married for 7 years and 10 months. We had 2 children, yet I still had no legal status in the United States. The uncertainty weighed heavily on our family. My sister-in-law, who lived in California, claimed that securing successful immigration would require $10,000. As a car mechanic earning only $25 per hour, raising such an amount felt nearly impossible. Despite my best efforts, I was only able to borrow $5,000 from a friend. I gave the funds to my wife, and she agreed to proceed with the immigration interview. On January 11, 2007, my wife attended the immigration interview, which went smoothly. As a result, I was granted permanent resident status, after 7 years and 10 months of uncertainty and struggle. It was a moment of relief, but not closure. I began waiting for my green card, but it never arrived. Months passed without any update. One day, my neighbor, Laurie Anderson, was experiencing car trouble, and I offered to help. We became friends, and during a conversation, I mentioned that I still hadn't received my green card. Concerned, Laurie contacted immigration on my behalf and discovered that the card had been mailed long ago. I confronted my wife, and after a tense exchange, I retrieved the green card from her possession. She was visibly distraught. The moment was painful, not just because of the deception, but because it marked the unraveling of trust in a relationship already strained by years of hardship.
I am an attorney, Catherine Wilmore, assisting Mr. Zahid Aziz Khan with immigration matters. Mr. Khan, a lawful permanent resident of the United States since 1999, now wishes to obtain U.S. citizenship. Please send all correspondence to my office. Mr. Khan does not wish to receive any correspondence at his home, as his mail delivery is problematic.
It is the surprising side hustle of the man behind Katy Perry, Lorde, and Kid Rock. Not only does he have an eye for talent, but he also has one for injustice.
I'm fascinated by their stories, and I'm fascinated by their courage and their strength and their spirit.
Flom is a founding board member of the Innocence Project, a nonprofit that uses DNA evidence to exonerate the wrongfully convicted. To date, the group has helped free almost 200 people.
You have a fascinating job, and yet you have found this whole other second existence in the Innocence Project. Why is this such a passion for you?
We have 2 separate systems of justice in this country, one if you have money and one if you don't. And that is a fundamental inequity that has to be addressed.
Many Innocence Project clients have been guests on Flom's podcast called
I am not just another name on a list. I am a man who endured forced labor, immigration coercion, and retaliatory prosecution. For 8 years, I worked under threat, denied a green card, denied dignity, denied freedom. And when I finally applied for U.S. citizenship, the system struck back. A false allegation was manufactured. The prosecutor, Cindy Larson, failed to disclose her ties to law enforcement. The interviewer, Ashley Wilsk, coached the alleged victim and misidentified key individuals in the transcript. These are not minor errors. They are breaches of justice. My case is not isolated. It is part of a pattern, where power shields misconduct, and truth is buried beneath procedure. But today, we unbury it. We name it. We expose it. I belong among the free. Among those whose names scroll across this screen, not as statistics, but as survivors. I am a victim of forced labor, a target of prosecutorial retaliation, and a man who deserves to be free. Justice delayed is justice denied. But justice exposed is justice reclaimed. Free me, and look at the evidence. There was a wedding in my wife's family. In my home, my sister-in-law, my mother-in-law, and her friend were staying. All their children, my stepdaughter, my daughter, and my son, were sleeping in an open loft area. I am a car mechanic, and I buy and sell cars from Craigslist for a living. All 3 children were with me before my sister-in-law and my wife arrived home around 12:30 or 1 a.m. on July 18, 2007. My 6-year-old daughter kicked her blanket while she was sleeping. It is normal for a father to kiss his children. Being a father, I kissed her and covered her. Meanwhile, my stepdaughter asked her mom what I am doing here. For some reason, my stepdaughter didn't like that I kissed her and asked her mother what I was doing there. I told her shut up, none of your business, the way I show affection. My sister-in-law came upstairs and started an argument. It is essential to note that the conversation was between me and her. My mother-in-law and her friend were sleeping next to the loft area. She was a guest, and I just ignored her. I told my stepdaughter to go downstairs. My sister-in-law complained to her husband that I am constantly fighting with her. I also argued with my mother-in-law about my stepdaughter, and she was not happy. I think I made her upset. I told my sister-in-law that if she cares so much about my stepdaughter, why doesn't she take her? After some arguments, I went to bed. My sister-in-law and her husband were flying back home in the morning. Mainly, while my sister-in-law decided to take my daughter with her. The next day, I dropped them and went to work. My mother-in-law stayed a few more days and flew to Wisconsin on July 23, 2007. She was proficient in high blood pressure and kidney transplant. After arriving home, she became seriously ill, and there was no hope for her life. Her illness was the last nail in the coffin to get rid of me, along with my applying for citizenship without her consent.
Whose idea was it to go to California?
Mine.
You sure of that?
Yes.
Why did you tell your mom about going to California?
I was scared. I just wanted to go. I wanted her to come with us, but she wouldn't.
Okay. But it wasn't anybody else's idea, you're sure of that?
Well, my aunt and my uncle thought it was a good idea, too.
But you were the one who came up with the idea.
Yeah. I was too scared to stay and did not want to stay.
When you're meeting with Ashley on the DVD, you said that you could specifically remember one occasion which was the worst one. Do you remember?
Huh?
Talking to her about that?
Yep.
And that on that occasion you woke up and he had his hand in your rents and his hand on your arrest.
Huh?
And then when you woke up, he pulled back hand, and said, "Bitch."
Yep.
The resentment was at its peak at that time, because I applied for citizenship without her consent. My mother-in-law left Washington on July 23, 2007. The very next day, she became gravely ill. When all hope for recovery vanished, my wife's family made a chilling decision, to eliminate me from their lives, permanently. The mastermind behind this operation was my sister-in-law, orchestrating everything from California. She believed in the myth of the perfect crime. But deception is a heavy burden. A liar must expend constant mental effort to maintain the illusion, tracking every falsehood like a fragile thread. They weren't thinking logically. They were driven by resentment. And so, the stage was set, for a premeditated crime.
If you search for premeditated crime, you will find a long list. In addition to planning, premeditated crime is characterized by deliberate actions. This means that the perpetrator consciously carries out each crime step and is fully aware of their actions. Unlike crimes of passion, where the act may be impulsive or driven by emotions, premeditated crime involves a systematic and purposeful approach. The perpetrator takes the time to ensure that their actions align with their plan, leaving little room for chance or spontaneous decision-making.
The stage is set for a premeditated crime by three sisters. By my wife, E_M. Sister-in-law from California, S_M. Next-door sister-in-law, S_H. My sister-in-law from California, SM, believes she outsmarted the system. She may feel successful now, but in the end, the law catches up with everyone. It is deeply unethical to destroy someone's life for personal gain. My next-door sister-in-law SH reported an allegation of child rape, despite not being present at my home during the time in question. It's deeply puzzling how she came to make such a serious report without first-hand knowledge of the incident. Circumstantial evidence strongly suggests that SM, the alleged mastermind, was under instruction to report a case of child rape. In accordance with that directive, on July 25, 2007, my wife contacted Child Protection Services and formally reported the incident. This action was not spontaneous. It followed a pattern of calculated behavior that aligns with other documented inconsistencies in the timeline. The report itself, while appearing to serve a protective function, ultimately became a tool within a broader strategy, one that raises serious questions about motive, manipulation, and premeditation. The timing, the phrasing of the report, and the surrounding communications all point to a coordinated effort rather than a genuine act of concern. This moment marks a critical juncture in the unfolding narrative, where advocacy intersects with forensic scrutiny.
Child Protective Services, this is Kimberly. How can I help you?
Hi. I need to report something. It happened a few days ago. I walked in on my husband touching my daughter.
I'm very sorry to hear that. Can you tell me exactly what happened?
It was on the 22nd July. He was kissing her and touching her privates. He was naked. I saw it. I didn't know what to do.
Okay. I'll need your contact information to file the referral. Can I get your address or phone number?
No, I can't. My family's Muslim. If anyone finds out what happened, my daughter's life will be ruined.
I understand. We'll keep your information confidential. You're doing the right thing. Thank you for telling me. Where is your daughter now?
She's at my sister's house. I don't know. I'm scared. I'll call back later with more information.
Please know we're here to help.
On July 22, 2007, the alleged victim, my stepdaughter, was in California, and I was in Washington. Statement, timeline manipulation and the triggering of my arrest. The initial call to Child Protective Services, CPS, alleged that child rape had occurred, a grave criminal accusation. That call set in motion the police investigation, which ultimately led to my receiving a sentence of life imprisonment. However, the timeline presented in court does not align with the original report. The accuser later denied the date she had given to CPS. According to intake worker Kimberly's referral, the incident was reported to have occurred on July 22, 2007. This date is critical, it anchors the entire investigation. Should we now disregard what Kimberly documented in the official referral? Should we ignore the fact that this referral was the trigger for the police investigation, even though the accuser never mentioned it during her interview on July 26, 2007? The omission was not accidental. The accuser knew that her daughter was in California at the time, while I was in Washington. Acknowledging the accurate timeline would have invalidated the accusation entirely. This deliberate manipulation of dates and silence surrounding the referral undermines the integrity of the investigation. It raises serious questions about how the case was built, and whether justice was ever truly served.
Good morning. Can you please state your full name, and spell your last name for the court reporter?
Kimberly S. Johnsted, Johnsted.
And what is your occupation?
I'm a social worker for Children's Administration.
Is that CPS?
Yes.
What are your duties as a social worker?
Currently, I meter the supervisor for the intake unit.
What were your duties on July 25, 2007?
I was the intake worker.
Did you get a call on that day from?
Yes.
Do you know about when that was?
Whatever is on the referral, it documents the times.
Are you looking at that to help refresh your memory?
Yes. At 13:40.
Do you recall recorded?
No.
When you get those calls, are they tape or digitally recorded?
No.
How do you record what's being said?
I write it down, and then we input it in the computer.
So it's handwritten?
Huh?
Did you keep your original notes from that incident?
No.
When she called, what was her demeanor like?
She was upset.
Okay. Was she talking fast or slow or?
She was talking fast. She didn't want to. I didn't talk to her that long because she got nervous and, didn't want to talk. She was worried about her daughter's reputation.
What were your duties on July 25, 2000?
I think she did. I don't remember exactly.
7. Did you get a call on that day from Aram, or?
Huh?
Mona, Mirza.
She said, she didn't want to give me her address. She did give me her name. And she said, in her Muslim community, that her daughter would be outcast, or ruin her reputation.
Do you know about when that was?
Yes.
Are you looking at that to help refresh your memory?
We have access to the ESA system. If someone is getting any kind of benefits, food or medical, we can look in the system to find an address, and I found the address.
Do you recall recorded?
Yes.
When you get those calls, are they tape or digitally
I put it in, the referral, and I staffed it with my supervisor at the time. Because she did not seem cooperative, we made it emergent because there's other children in the home, and we needed to make sure they were.
Do you recall if you got far enough in the conversation to learn if this was a one-time thing or an ongoing thing?
No. It was brief.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
The court, Mr. Niski.
Yes, Judge. Ms. Johnsted, how long have you worked with CPS?
7 years.
During that time, how much of that was as an intake person?
2 years.
You receive a phone call, you write everything down on paper and then go to a computer and enter it in the computer?
Right.
How long is it from the time you handwrite it to the time you enter it in the computer?
Right after the phone call.
Immediately upon hang-up?
Yes, especially if it's emergent. We have time frames, but if it's emergent, you do it right away, because the social worker has to go out and investigate right away.
You received this phone call on July 25, 2007 at 13:40 hours, which is 1:40 p.m.
Huh?
And when you were handwriting everything out, you try and use the exact words that were used by the caller, correct?
Yes.
And accuracy is a very important aspect of the intake worker's job?
Huh?
And whenever you can, you will use the exact words that the caller used?
Right.
And then you transfer that into the computer, using the exact words that you wrote down by hand?
That's correct.
And you have in front of you actually, I'm going to ask that this be marked. Pause. Handing you Defense Exhibit 39. Do you know what that is?
Yes.
And what is that?
That's the referral.
I'm sorry?
That's the referral.
That's the one that you typed yourself?
Huh?
There's a paragraph entitled Allegations. That first paragraph is the allegation that the caller made?
Correct.
Can you read that to the jury?
Objection, hearsay.
The court overruled, but let's have a sidebar. Sidebar discussion off the record.
Before I get to asking what's here, do you recall this conversation?
Yes.
Why do you recall this conversation?
Because it's unusual when someone, she was very upset, and she said she had witnessed the sexual abuse and didn't want to give me any more information.
Do you remember the exact words that she told you?
Well, just what's written. You know, I've taken a lot of calls. I just remember her being I remember the exact words of her saying, because it was unusual, about the Muslim culture.
Okay.
And that she.
But did you remember the exact words that she used about the actual allegation?
No.
Okay.
But I typed up what was.
Is there something that would help you remember what the exact words are that she said?
I take a lot of calls.
But is there a document that would help you refresh your memory?
Yes.
What document would that be?
The referral.
That's Defense Exhibit 39?
Yes.
Without reading what's on there right now, look at that and see if it refreshes your recollection. Read it to yourself. I'm asking you specifically about the details of the actual allegation. Does that refresh your memory?
Yes.
Without reading directly from the referral, can you tell the jury what it was that she told you about the actual allegation?
That she walked in on her husband.
Did she tell you whether he was clothed or naked?
He was naked.
Did she talk to you about or tell you what he was doing to her?
Kissing and touching her privates.
And those are the words that she used?
Yes.
And she said that she saw this herself?
Yes.
And she said, when did this happen in relationship to the 25th?
3 days before.
So if this was the 25th, then she told you that it happened on the 22nd?
Correct.
I don't have any other questions.
So you said she was upset when she was talking to you?
Huh?
Was she crying?
Yeah.
And you don't remember if she had an accent or not?
Not really.
And you don't know if she was talking about one time or lots of times, a history of things?
No, because I didn't have a chance. I would have asked that, had I been on the phone a little longer.
And how long do you think this conversation was, in total?
3 to 5 minutes.
And you've got 2 lines and 4 words about the actual allegation, is that right?
Right.
And then another 3 lines about the Muslim thing.
Huh?
And then just stuff about ESA and the fact that one short sentence about the daughter being at her sister's house, is that right?
Correct.
So it's just this much information from that 3 to 5 minute conversation?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Niski, any other questions?
No.
Thank you, ma'am. You may step down. You are free to go.
In this image, only 3 individuals are present: Ashley Wilsk, Detective Martin, and the alleged victim.
Your name is that right?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to take a seat over here if you don't mind, so make yourself comfortable, lean back, kick back and all that, so. And before we do questions, I want to just get to know you better because it's the first time we met and I want to tell you I take notes while we talk, We're DVDing it, the detective's watching. All that is for to help keep things straight and also say you don't have to be talking to a whole bunch of people right now, okay? Just me, alright?
The circumstantial evidence suggests that Cindy Larson and Ashley Wilsk collaborated to ensure my conviction prior to the trial. During the interview, Ashley Wilsk, as part of the circumstantial evidence, sought instructions from prosecutor Cindy Larson and proceeded to ask Raja Hassan related questions. Why didn't Ashley Wilsk disclose the identity of the female involved? Where did this female suddenly appear from? Analyze the content, judge for yourself. Who is this unidentified female? The prosecutor, who should not be there, is absent from view. If they were present off camera, it suggests my fate was sealed before the trial even began. I don't have a camera, but I've documented a female voice speaking to the alleged victim. Ashley Wilsk, who has been impeached, is actively concealing the identity of Cindy Larson. Based on the content and tone, it is clear, the speaker is Cindy Larson. Ashley Wilsk exited the room twice, collected questions from a female source, and returned to ask those same questions in court, effectively scripting the testimony. Here's a direct excerpt from the conversation.
Alright. I'm going to take a seat over here if you don't mind. Make yourself comfortable, lean back, kick back, and all that. Before we get to the questions, I just want to get to know you better since this is our first time meeting. I'll be taking notes while we talk. We're recording it on DVD, and the detective is watching. That's all just to help keep things straight. Also, you don't have to talk to a whole bunch of people right now, okay? Just me. Alright?
This interaction, combined with the concealment of identity and prescripted questioning, undermines the integrity of the entire process. It raises serious concerns about fairness, transparency, and premeditation. Call to action. If you believe in truth, transparency, and the right to a fair trial, please consider supporting this voluntary work. Your donation helps us expose systemic injustice, protect whistleblowers, and push for a new trial. Visit JusticeDocuments.com to learn more, share this video, and stand with us in the fight for reform. Before the interview begins, let's take a step back. This wasn't a spontaneous investigation. It was the result of a carefully constructed narrative, one that began long before any official questions were asked. My wife got 2 instructions from her sister in California. These weren't suggestions. They were directives, designed to shape the story and steer the outcome.
We'll leave out the reporting instance of July 25, 2007, which triggered this interview. That moment speaks for itself elsewhere.
To make the story more believable, the family added another layer, a phone call between the girl and her boyfriend, Jamie. She was told what to say. It wasn't her voice, it was someone else's script.
And then, I heard my daughter shouting, "Where are you?" Her voice echoed through the house, urgent, confused, and real. I went upstairs.
Her mother never awoke. That part of their narrative didn't happen. Like so many other pieces, it was fiction layered over fiction, meant to strengthen a case that was already falling apart. The prosecutor Cindy Larson. The allegation that initiated the police investigation is missing from the interview. Narration intro, with prosecutor context. Before you hear this interview, you need to know one thing. My arrest warrant was illegal. The allegation that triggered the police investigation, the very reason this interview exists, is completely missing from what you're about to hear. And yet, Cindy Larson, the prosecutor, didn't stop. It was her first case, and she pushed forward, despite the missing evidence, despite the contradictions, and despite the fact that the foundation of the warrant had collapsed. She relied on a forensic interview conducted by Ashley Wilsk, who was later impeached. Ashley inserted herself into the process, referred to herself anonymously in the transcript, and never disclosed her identity. This wasn't justice. It was ambition, stitched together with a mission. All 3 children were with me the entire time. The alleged crime supposedly happened when they returned home around 1 a.m., but they were never alone. On July 26, my wife gave her interview at Dawson Place. And yet, she never mentioned the very incident that triggered the investigation. Let's watch the interview, and see what's missing.
The evening of July 17, 2007, I was visiting relatives who were in town from out of state. I was at my sister's home, who lives not far away from my home. I came home with my middle sister from California around 1 a.m. on July 18, 2007. We were both sitting on the couch in the living room and whispering because the kids were sleeping. At about 1:30 hours on the 18th of July 2007, I heard from my daughter, "Mom, Mom, where are you?" My sister and I ran upstairs and saw Zahid standing next to my daughter, and Zahid was yelling at her, telling her, "Shut up."
This was a premeditated accusation. According to my wife, she heard her daughter say, "Mom, Mom, where are you?" But on page 357, line 20, I explained to the court that, for reasons I still don't understand, my stepdaughter doesn't like it when I kiss my daughter. She said, "Mom, what is he doing here?" I responded, "Shut up. It's none of your business how I care about my daughter." And on page 358, line 24, I testified that my wife never came upstairs. The contradiction is clear. The narrative was built to provoke suspicion, not to reflect reality.
I ran upstairs in a few seconds to get up into the loft area where my daughter was sleeping and noticed Zahid had a noticeable erection. My sister pointed at Zahid's penis and told him to get out of the room. My sister asked him what he was doing. Zahid said to my sister to get out and glared at my daughter.
Contradiction in witness testimony. Witness statement versus prosecutor's claim. During the police interview, the 14-year-old witness cried out, "Mom, Mom, where are you?" Her vulnerability was evident. But what followed in court revealed a deeper contradiction. On page 77 of the official transcript, State of Washington v. Zahid Khan, November 27, 2007, she claimed she awoke to someone touching her breast. Yet on page 78, she stated clearly, "He never touched me." This contradiction directly challenges the prosecution's narrative. Cindy Larson built her case on the claim that Zahid Khan felt her breast. But the witness's own words under oath suggest otherwise. Context matters. The witness was reportedly prepared for testimony by her aunt. My wife and sister-in-law confirmed he was alert and that they were told to leave the room, details omitted from the courtroom narrative. The witness also stated Zahid was very close when she awoke. But proximity during sleep does not equal intent or contact. Forensic insight, sleep state perception. During sleep, the brain enters a state of reduced sensory processing. Awakening from sleep, especially in unfamiliar or emotionally charged environments, can trigger confused memory encoding, where perceptions are shaped by fear, suggestion, or fragmented recall. Sleep inertia and partial arousal can distort memory and perception. What feels like contact may be a misinterpreted sensation or proximity. Dr. Elizabeth Loftus, expert in memory and suggestibility.
Do you know of any times when the bell stopped him from coming in?
No. Maybe he realized there was bells on my door, so he came less. And he knew I was a light sleeper, so he came less.
Let's talk about the night of July 16th of this year. Do you remember what was going on?
Yeah. I woke up, and he was about to grab my boob. He was kneeling on the ground very, very close to me. And we had family there this time, like, a family reunion, and my cousin was getting engaged and stuff, and my aunt was there, and so was my uncle, and my other aunt was. So I just screamed, "Mom!"
You say he was about to touch your breast. What do you mean?
He was about to touch my chest. Like, he was about to, but, like, I woke up right away.
How close was his hand to your breast?
A couple inches away.
If the alleged victim is denying the claims, why is prosecutor Cindy Larson asking leading questions? Is it ethical for her to present her own version of events when the alleged victim has refuted them? Regardless, she succeeded in securing a life imprisonment sentence against an innocent person.
Can you show the jury what that looked like on yourself?
On myself? Like, this far away, indicating.
And was his hand in that shape, like, kind of cupped with his fingers?
I didn't pay attention.
The prosecutor, Cindy Larson, is aggressively pushing a narrative of premeditation, not in pursuit of justice, but to elevate her own career. Her line of questioning toward Raja Hassan is blatantly leading, designed to elicit responses that support her case regardless of their truth. Every answer is sculpted to fit her theory, stacking the deck against an innocent man.
How close was his hand to your breast? Can you show the jury what that looked like on yourself? And was his hand in that shape, like, kind of cupped with his fingers? Early on, I think you said that he had actually touched your chest. Do you remember that?
Based on public records and investigations, Cindy Larson, formerly a deputy prosecutor and now a judge, has faced scrutiny over her ethical conduct, particularly during her campaign for Snohomish County Superior Court. She has been fined $2,000.
Early on, I think you said that he had actually touched your chest. Do you remember that?
Yeah. I didn't mean to say he touched me. I meant to say he was about to. That was my first interview.
So you are sure that he wasn't actually touching you?
From what I remember, I was totally in shock, and I just screamed my mom's name, just, like, "Mom," because I knew everyone was there, and nothing would happen. Everything that night was kind of a blur.
When you say nothing would happen, what do you mean by that?
Like, he could have hurt us. But nothing would happen, and they would believe me because he was so close to me.
Why did you think he would hurt you?
He's a scary guy. He always told me, like, my mom would send me away, no one would believe me. And it's just scary, because if he can do something like that to me, why couldn't he hurt us, you know?
Has he ever hurt anybody in your family before?
Yeah. He's hurt my brother and sister a lot.
Did he ever hurt your mom?
Yeah. One time he was hitting my brother.
You don't need to talk about it.
All right.
So you were concerned that he would hurt you?
I sat next to my daughter on the couch and took her downstairs. In the meantime, my sister and Zahid were yelling at each other. Zahid said that he put a blanket on his daughter. It was suspicious because Zahid never showed any interest in caring for his children. My daughter was sleeping on the couch because her grandmother was sleeping in her room. Zahid and my sister came downstairs and started to yell at her and told her, "Do whatever you want, I don't care." I asked my daughter, and she told me that she felt that Zahid was at the top of her. I tried to comfort her, but she was so afraid that Zahid was going to hurt and throw me out of the house. I told my daughter that nothing would happen and asked her why she was afraid. She explained that it had happened before, back when they were living in Bellevue. She said Zahid came into her room, put his hands on her vagina, and touched her breasts. She told me Zahid had warned her many times, if she ever told her mother, he would throw me out of the house, or she'd be sent away and never see her brother and sister again. She said she kept silent because she didn't want the family to fall apart. She also told me she had spoken to her boyfriend about what Zahid had done to her.
A 14-year-old doesn't naturally have the language or emotional framework to describe events this traumatic, unless someone teaches her what to say, or unless those events were real and deeply etched into her memory. Her account wasn't vague or confused. It was detailed, consistent, and emotionally grounded. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a premeditated crime. The threats, the manipulation, the timing, all of it points to intent. And despite the fear, despite the risk of losing her family, she spoke. That makes her not just a witness, but a survivor with the strength to make a case that demands to be heard.
I certify or declare under the penalty of perjury under the laws of the state of Washington that the foregoing statement is true and correct. 3 adults.
There were 3 adults. But instead of 5 adults, there was only 3.
What do you mean by instead of okay? Yes.
Because there were 5 adults in the house.
Right.
Because there were 5 adults in the house.
There were 6 adults in the house.
Including Zahid, correct?
Yes.
There was you and him, your mother, your 2 sisters, and your brother-in-law.
No. Zahid, me, my mom, my aunt, my brother-in-law, and my sister.
On page 196, my wife confirms under oath that my older sister-in-law, who lives just a few blocks away, was not present in my home. Yet despite her absence, she signed a sworn statement accusing me of child rape. Her sworn statement helped secure a life sentence against me, for a crime I did not commit. At that time, she declared under penalty of perjury under the laws of the state of Washington that the foregoing statement was true and correct.
Your aunt, okay. I'm sorry, not 2 sisters. 1 sister, 1 aunt.
Right.
And your aunt, your mother, and your brother-in-law were all sleeping?
Right.
And then there was you and your sister, and you left the house.
Right.
But according to all the timing, Zahid waited, apparently.
Objection, argumentative.
I was GM at a place eating when I got a call and I answered and it was. Went to the car to answer and she was crying, so I asked what's wrong and she said she was on her way to California, so I asked why and she was on her way to California. So I asked why and she told to promise not to tell, so I promised not to tell anyone, so I promised and she said she was sleeping and when she woke up, Zahid was on top of her, so she yelled for her mom and I think her grandma came in and told Zahid to get out of the room. So he did, and her mom sent her to California because she did not want to be around Zahid and her mom did not want her to be around Zahid and her mom did not want to leave him at the time so her little sibling could be raised with a blank. I had got the phone call this summer of 2007. I think it was on a Sunday, and it was the first bad news that I had from Rajesh on.
Iram decided to wait until after their mother went to Wisconsin to call the police. I agreed with Iram's decision to wait because their mother had a heart condition and they did not want to send her off in shock.
It's almost impossible to commit a perfect crime because there are always inconsistencies and gaps in the story. Justice must investigate those gaps and uncover the truth. As shown in the interview, her mother told police about the call to Jamie. A 14-year-old cannot invent such a detailed story. However, my sister-in-law continues to talk to Jamie, acting as if she were a victim. Now we have 2 conflicting stories. One claims the grandmother knew about the rape and confronted Zahid. The other says neither sister reported the incident because they were worried about the grandmother's health. Neither story is completely true or accurate. In fact, a logical review indicates that neither event occurred. My sister-in-law from California made up the entire story. To make her story seem more believable, she explained why neither she nor my wife contacted the police on the day of the supposed incident. But no one asked her to justify herself. Why did she feel the need to explain, unless she was fabricating the story? This isn't just a misunderstanding, it's a deliberate, false narrative meant to deceive and manipulate. False allegations and family pressure, a timeline of contradictions. Act 1, the call that sparked it all. In early 2007, a call was made to Children's Protective Services by members of my wife's family. They believed, or claimed to believe, that my stepdaughter, then 14, was a victim of abuse. But there was one glaring issue: she was in California at the time. The logistics alone made it implausible that she could have orchestrated such a report independently. At that age, navigating legal systems and making strategic accusations is not only unlikely, it's nearly impossible without adult influence. Act 2, a scripted accusation. Soon after, my sister-in-law allegedly instructed my stepdaughter to call her boyfriend and accuse me, Zahid, of rape. This wasn't a spontaneous outcry. It was a calculated move to build a narrative, one that would later be used to bolster their claims. I know this because in her official interview on July 26, 2007, my stepdaughter referenced this moment directly. The family's intent was clear: use the boyfriend as a corroborating witness to a fabricated event. But the plan faltered. Their own explanation revealed hesitation to involve law enforcement, citing the grandmother's poor health. This contradiction, wanting to report a crime but choosing not to, undermined the credibility of their entire story. Act 3, the timeline collapses. Before my wife's police interview on June 26, 2007, the alleged victim had not returned from California. She came back on August 8, 2007. And with her return came a new allegation, that on February 14, 2007, I had touched her inappropriately in a van. Yet again, the timeline didn't hold. For 5 months, she supposedly kept silent, not out of fear, but because she didn't want to break the family, a sentiment she was allegedly coached to say. Act 4, nightmares and narrative shifts. To add emotional weight, the family introduced another claim, that she suffered nightmares following the alleged abuse. But when pressed in court, the defense attorney revealed a critical inconsistency. My wife had used the word nightmare 15 times in her statements, yet the girl herself denied ever having them. The emotional arc they tried to construct simply didn't align with the facts. Act 5, the real victim. I don't blame the girl. She was a child, surrounded by adults who seemed more interested in crafting a story than protecting her well-being. She repeated what she was told. The tragedy here isn't just the false accusation, it's the manipulation of a young mind, the weaponization of family dynamics, and the erosion of truth.
This platform exists because truth was buried, and we refuse to let it stay that way. Every document, every contradiction, every timeline overlay you see here is the result of countless unpaid hours, meticulous research, and a relentless pursuit of transparency. We are not backed by institutions. We are not funded by corporations. We are volunteers, working without pay, without protection, and without rest. We are begging for your help. Your donation helps us. Keep the platform online and secure. Produce new documentary evidence and visual timelines. Protect whistleblowers and maintain anonymity. Push for a new trial based on facts, not fabrication. If you believe in truth, if you believe in reform, stand with us.